Hey everybody, this is Dark Guards and we're back with another video. So I haven't done a video in a few days now. I've recorded a couple, but haven't got around to editing them and probably won't even upload them. But we need to kind of get an update out here to kind of talk about what's been going on and what's been changing and being done and everything else. So for those who haven't been watching the streams, which I don't blame you, it's a lot of programming, a lot of boring stuff and everything else. We've been working on Atomic Science and working on ICBM-Classic, getting a lot of stuff going and moving forward. Those streams, if you do care to watch them, are Twitch TV/DarkGuardsman. Generally about 2 to 4 hours long, almost every morning, about 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And during these streams, we've been actually getting Atomic Science updated to 112. It's almost completely ready for release. ICBM-Classic has also been getting a lot of overhauls. We'll probably cover those as soon as I get stuff loaded. At least we'll do the Atomic Science ones. It's the other workspace for the ICBM-Classic stuff. But with ICBM-Classic, it's pretty straightforward on its updates. I'll probably do a video alone just to talk about what has been changed. But it's a lot of UI improvements, some energy bars being rendered finally in the UIs, although you won't notice them right away because they're right on the right-hand side in the middle. So they're there, but they're kind of blended in with the UI. But they're there, so you actually have energy bars. There's been fixes for radar systems and everything else to make it a little easier to like understand what's going on. There's been some fixes for how the radar mechanics work and visual improvements and everything else like that. But Atomic Science, though, has been getting updated, and we actually are in 112, if you see in the top left-hand corner. And we actually have pretty much everything functional. There's just a few like really minor things to work on, and let me actually pull the list up here so I can kind of say what I still need to do, so when we're going through and I'm showing what we have updated, you can kind of understand what's kind of left to get done. So go in here, go into our issue ticket list. By the way, if you end up actually testing the version, because I'll probably try to release a version sometime in the middle of the week just for testers, make sure you report issues here, make sure you also prefix with 112, and try to give a nice title of what's going on. Don't just upload a crash report and go, I crashed. Try to say why you crashed, like I right-clicked a machine. Here's the to-do list, and if I can ever spell anything correct. So really what it comes down to to-do list, and this is not everything I need to get done before release, like Buildcraft support. If I don't get that done, I would probably just release anyways. But we got some slot validation to do, some icons. I gotta do some checks to see if I need to adjust the power values for the generator, so when I release, we're not seen as another big reactors with overpowered reactors, because we are kind of there. I need to give some attempt to rework the grid system, as there's some bugs still left over from the 1.7 version that have not been fixed. And yeah, there needs to be some capability support. This one is not that big of a deal, so it's not like a lot we have left to do. A lot of this stuff is I just need to go through all the content, make sure I balance it out, make sure all the configs are done. There's some config work that still needs to be done. Like if we actually go into the mod options here, and I scroll down, and if I didn't scroll down too far, we got Atomic Science here, so you can get configs in game now, which I'm going to try to do this for every single mod we have. But I need to work on the configs so that we don't have this like content slash thing. I want to do some sub menus. I haven't figured out exactly how to do that. At least do that in a reasonable way. The way I think they recommended is you just have to nest classes inside of each other, which is really obnoxious. But I'm going to see about doing that. If that doesn't work quite appropriately, I'll see about doing another way just so we can get these menus to look really nice, to be really easy to use and really easy to see and stuff. But we do have particle settings. You can adjust all the particle settings. You can adjust all the ore generator settings. All the power usage settings are in here, so you can change all those. You can disable power just like you can do in ICBM-Classic. So for those who are having trouble getting another mod to do your power usage right away, which would be really bizarre because the only purpose of this mod is to provide power, so you shouldn't really have issues powering stuff. Reactor settings, you can change the time for the rods and stuff. I'm probably going to work on this one a little bit better because this one's in ticks right now. Most people are probably not going to be able to intuitively work with that. Basically 20 ticks a second, so you'll have to do the math out there. And what I'm thinking about doing is change this to a string value, so you could say instead of 144 here, which I think is actually, if we do the math, I think it's an hour is what it is. So divided by 20, divided by 60, it's 120 minutes, so it's 2 hours. So this is 2 hours, I think it's just like 4 hours. So if we do 3 divided by 20, divided by 60, 60 again. I guess it's 5 hours. That's right. I increased this at the request of Grogger. Grogger was kind of complaining that 2 hours was too short for this. So I increased, I think, both these times. I think this was originally an hour, this was original 2 hours. But those are set, so you can go through those. You can also mess with IC2 values, so you can change how our power output is done. This is balanced to mechanism by default, so whatever mechanism uses is what we use as well. Try not to unbalance things. You're going to cause free energy to probably end up flowing, because we have no energy loss when transferring stuff, so it's not there. We may add some in the future, maybe. You can turn off the recipes as well. These actually do feed into our recipes. These do actually work as far as I can tell. Same thing for everything else. You can also change how much steam is produced per heat level. You could change network stuff, so you could turn off the steam packets and particle packets if you're having network problems as are in there. We're going to get more of those in the future. And when I get around to it, we will also be getting configs for a few other things. We're getting configs for the radiation, and we're getting configs for some more of the recipe stuff. So the recipe stuff does have a lot of settings to control how much fluids are consumed, how much items are output. I want to make sure I give you guys as much of those settings as possible. These only apply to the machines, processing machines themselves, and in the future these are likely to probably become JSON. So when we do implement this will probably only be in there for a couple months, and then when we implement the JSON system for the processing machines, it'll go away simply because you'll be able to adjust the recipes for those machines using JSON data files. So we got all that kind of explained through. But yeah, the big things that still need to be done, I got to work on the radiation and thermal grid a little bit more. I'll probably be releasing test versions regardless though, but it'll be a while before we end up doing a beta or full release. When it comes to the content's still straightforward the same. You still have the processing machines. Processing machines work straightforward. We now have energy usage on these. I will be implementing a few things to help with this, because a few people have pointed out to me, and I am fully well aware of this, is that things like the boiler require 5 connections to actually function, and now if you add a power connection on that makes 6. I am currently using batteries to kind of do a lot of this stuff here. Power usage is pretty low, so theoretically you could just use batteries for this. If you're using something like Ender IO, the connections on the sides is not that big of a deal, so try to get some mods that help you out with connections. I will be producing a couple mods to help with this that'll be adding a proxy block, so you can stick a block below this and it will relay connections up into the machine, so that way it's a lot easier to do connections. I'll be making that probably as a standalone mod sometime on the stream at some point. But yeah, these do work. Not only that, we have JAI support, so I went ahead and made sure we had JAI support implemented. I still need to do a little bit of work on here. Specifically, I need to actually implement showing the power requirements for this. The processing times. Processing times are dependent per recipe. There's a few other things I do need to work on, and particularly I need to add settings so you're not like wasting power on this, because if the recipe cannot complete and it's still running and everything else, it will continue to cycle to some extent, and it can waste power depending on what's happening. But yeah, recipes do exist for all these. I do need to implement a little bit better recipes for the dust randomization, so you can see the weights and variable and drops for that. That'll probably be done after we actually get to a more stable release, as it's not a priority. But you can see the recipes in here. That covers the processing machine recipes. I'll probably be adding guidebook handling as well for this, so that way you can understand how some of the machines do work, how the interconnection goes together. And I'll try to find ways to help as much as possible with the comprehension of the mod, because it is pretty complicated to get a chain going for this, as you need these 2 machines right here just to get things going, that third machine to give you a little bit of boost, and then if you want to do the waste recovery, you actually need more than what I've even got here. So you need a whole bunch of machines to get the waste recovery, just to turn everything down into toxic waste, so that way you recover as much resources as possible and can recover your fluids back out. Outside that, reactors are working perfectly fine. So reactors are open world for those who've never seen them before. You don't have to build special casings for them. You don't have to build special handling or machinery. You pretty much plop a core down, put a rod in it, and it will run. We have a control block here, which does not actually have a recipe at the moment. It'll be a while before I probably put a recipe on that, simply because I want to flush it out a little bit more before it's in a release state. But the cores themselves do have recipes. They do work. I have tried to put as much mod compatibility to these recipes as possible. Right now, there are some limitations to what the recipes will do. If you do have mods like IC2 enabled, it will try to pick with the IC2 recipe primarily, simply because we do not have a vanilla-esque recipe that is not purely vanilla at the moment. The plan is eventually we'll have something like Volts Engine for 112 that will provide the motors and stuff, so you'll have something more in the line with what Atomic Science normally would have for the 1.7 version. But when you build these, you can put these down, put a rod in them, it'll start boiling water, which will go up into turbines. There is a steam funnel as well for those who have never seen the mod. The steam funnel just basically captures the steam and lets you put it in pipes, so if you want to use another mod's turbines or whatever, it fully works with that system. But the steam turbines, pretty straightforward. You just put them down here, they will generate power, and if I can get a stick out here to show you the power generation. At the moment we're just using a stick for debug purposes, but it'll tell you how much steam is collecting, how much watts are going. The power is dependent on how much boiling water you have below you. Right now, this is one of the reasons why I kind of want to fix how the reactors behave. As you can tell, there's spots where we're not getting boiling water. This just has to do with the thermal system not quite flowing down very well. In spots we'll get nothing, in spots we'll get very low points, and then you'll get very high points over here. It's just a quirk with how the mathematics are working out, and it just needs a little bit more work and a little bit more adjustment to get it going. But you put turbines up here. These right now will work with any forge energy system, which happens to be actual additions, thermal expansion, mechanism. There's a huge list. It'll work with IC2, and then here later it'll do buildcraft pipes as well, so you'll be able to hit the main 3 power systems. I probably won't be doing Tesla, since as far as I know that Tesla already supports forge energy, so I don't need to do anything with that. But that's for the most of it right there. It's pretty straightforward. The radiation mechanics do work. The armor, as far as I've tested, still works. All the fluid cells are doing very, very well. So you have full capacity on these fluid cells, and if I actually go over here on this sheet, you can see we can hold every fluid. It'll hold any fluid at 1,000 millibuckets. And that's pretty straightforward. The last things I also need to do is I need to fix the wrenches texture. I have yet to get to that. But that's pretty much enough for updates. Then we'll do another video for ICBM-Classic updates and changes that have been going on and everything else. Beyond that, if you guys could pop by the stream and say hello and try to see the stuff we're doing. And we talk about a lot of the future plans on stream. We also show stuff being actively developed and worked on. And if you want to learn how to mod, that's probably a good way to also do it, is just sit there and watch how things are being done and ask questions. I'm more than happy to answer questions during the stream. Anyways, see you all later, and thank you for watching.